Hello everybody, welcome to the second installation of the Q&A from the LGBTQ Baha'i Experience. On average, we receive about 3 to 4 questions a week from non-Baha'is, Baha'is, and the LGBTQ community. As before, this is going to be unscripted, just a casual conversation between me and you, the audience. My husband gave me 9 questions as prior. I don't know the exact questions, and I feel that's the most honest way just to have a conversation with everybody, as if we're just having questions out on the street or in a cafe or in each other's living rooms. So bear with me. I may not always have the correct answers, and most of the time, I'm going to be speaking from the heart, and I hope everybody learns a lot with this second Q&A. I will proceed now with the first question. I'm looking forward to this. Question number 1. What does the LGBTQ community think about the Baha'i faith? Well, that is an interesting question because I do believe most of the LGBTQ community has not heard of the Baha'i faith, along with a lot of the public in general. So, there's always that. It's always a challenge when you're a small minority religion that not many people have heard about. But those who have heard of the Baha'i faith oftentimes felt like there was a connection between their values and their worldview and those that's mirrored in the Baha'i faith. Many in the LGBTQ community believe in the oneness of humanity, the equality of the genders. We value science. Supposedly the Baha'i faith values science. I would say most LGBTQ people around the world are progressive and want a better society, one where we live in peace and where prejudices are eliminated. And I feel that oftentimes when the LGBTQ community or people in general discover the Baha'i faith, they feel like they found their religion. It speaks to them. It speaks to the core values of the LGBTQ community. And it is quite disheartening when they discover the current interpretation of the Baha'i law concerning homosexuality. There's been many people in my life, including my husband and close friends, who wanted to become Baha'is until they discovered the harsh reality for most LGBTQ Baha'is. And if it weren't for this law, I could just speak for myself, because I brought numerous people into this religion growing up and in my formative years as a teenager and a young adult. I honestly feel that this religion is tailor-made for the LGBTQ community on so many levels. I even seen articles in the early 2000s that would say that when they were talking about comparative religions concerning the LGBTQ community, or just LGBTQ people. And I remember one article even said the Baha'i faith was the perfect religion if it were not for this law. And so I think there is a big missed opportunity in uniting all of mankind when you leave 10 to 20% of humanity out because of just who they love. All right, so on to question number 2. Since the current Baha'i religion is homophobic, why cannot you start an LGBTQ affirming version of Baha'i? Very interesting question, and one I've heard probably for 25 years, particularly those from those who are more progressive and also from LGBTQ people. In other religions, when there's a disagreement about theology, oftentimes there's schisms or different branches, one that's progressive, one that's more conservative. But in the Baha'i religion, it's very much structured in a way where no schisms can occur. The Baha'is believe that it was schisms in prior religions that has contributed to disunity and hostility, and they just want to be, the faith just wants to be just one religion, one voice, one authority. And I would say most Baha'is would consider that normal, like that is a part of the Baha'i beliefs. Any schisms would be unacceptable. And I know LGBTQ people in the past have thought about creating their own schism, or have created their own schism, or sect in the Baha'i faith. And personally, I'm not on board with that. I feel that it's just one religion and it needs to stay that. But I do believe it needs to evolve with the current science of the day and also show dignity towards LGBTQ people. And I feel like there would be no schism necessary. So, on record, I do not believe in starting a sect of the Baha'i faith or joining a sect of the Baha'i faith. I just want to see change occur within the Baha'i faith. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody, but mostly Baha'is will understand that, others may not, but that's just where I stand, and that's where I think majority of LGBTQ Baha'is or former LGBT Baha'is stand on that. All right, on to question number 3. Dear LGBTQ Baha'i Experience, I want to come out to my Persian Bahai family, but I'm worried that the writings say being gay will cause my soul to be spiritually handicapped in the next world. What should I do? That's a very heavy question. And it's hard for me as a non-Persian to really answer that. I can't speak for another culture, but I do have a lot of dear LGBTQ Baha'i Persian friends who oftentimes have it much rougher than anyone else. Coming out to them oftentimes means alienation from their culture and, more importantly, their family. And in the Baha'i writings, family is the bedrock of society. And to be estranged from your mom, dad, siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, and your larger Persian community, Baha'i and non-alike, it is quite a challenge. And my heart goes out to them. I receive lots of stories about their challenges being a Persian LGBTQ Baha'i or former Baha'i. That is a personal decision they have to make. Do they embrace who they are, their whole being, or do they just stuff it back in and just stay in the closet? I would say my gut tells me, I'm going to follow my gut on this, if it's causing you psychological harm, being in the closet, the only answer I can give is to come out of the closet and be your authentic self. That might cause alienation, but I'm at the mindset where you have to look out for yourself first and foremost. Again, my heart goes out to this person. It's a tough question. And they had a second part to the question, that the writings say that one who is gay or acts on their homosexuality will become spiritually handicapped in the next world. That's heavy. I remember that quote or that attribution or guidance that was said. I believe I remember reading it back in the 1980s. It might go back to the 1960s or 70s, possibly from the house. Don't quote me on that. But I, again, speaking from my heart, from my soul, I don't believe one is going to be spiritually handicapped for living their authentic life the way God made you. That just does not ring true to me spiritually. And I think it's a cruel comment or guidance that was said and is often still said by amongst the older Baha'is out there. What I feel is going to cause someone to be spiritually handicapped is to judge others, to backbite, to rumor monger, to gossip, to apply Baha'i law with inequity towards LGBTQ people. I feel that that's a test for the Baha'i administration. And to the friend who sent this question, God loves you as you are. And do what feels right for you. And my prayers will be with you. All right, heavy questions, people, but that's what we're here for. Tough questions, and I will answer best to my abilities. Question number 4. This is a long one. Dear Sean, I'm a newly declared Baha'i and I'm a lesbian. I was given the impression in the future that there will be a punishment for those who act on their same-sex attraction. I think I may have joined the wrong religion, even though I love the Baha'i writings and the teachings about unity and bringing all of humanity together. Do you have any advice? All right. Okay, for Baha'is out there, they'll know this. In the Kitabi Akdas, the most holy book, our book of laws, it is said in the future that those who are homosexual, who basically act on their homosexuality, in the future, under a Baha'i Commonwealth, will face a punishment for acting out on their same-sex attraction. I kid you not. It's in the Kitabi Akdas. It's there, black and white. People have said oftentimes that when this type of question has come up, or, in the past on Facebook groups and other forums, people said, that's not true, Sean, or that's not true, whoever asked the question. And no, it is true. And we don't know what that future punishment will be, but most likely, from what I infer, it's going to be like a fine that you pay to the Universal House of Justice. Again, I kid you not. In the future, there will be a punishment and or fine for those who act out on their same-sex attraction. I'm sure there are other punishments or fines for other things, such as murder, arson, theft, the things that LGBTQ people are lumped together with. Yeah, makes you feel real warm and fuzzy, doesn't it? So sad. This newly declared lesbian Baha'i, she found her religion that spoke to her heart and spoke to her soul. She fell in love with the Baha'i writings. She fell in love with Baha'u'llah. And now she's being told about this future punishment for her being a lesbian if she lived in the future. Who knows when this will ever roll out? Will it be 100 years from now? Will it be 200 years from now? Or will it be 20 years from now? I don't know. It's one of those what-if scenarios, I suppose. She's saying maybe she's joined the wrong religion. And for her circumstance and her situation, I want to say that maybe this religion isn't for you. And if this causes, again, spiritual or psychological harm, maybe you do need to find another community that values you, that doesn't have future punishments for you just being you, just living your life. No one chooses to join the most hated minority group in the world, right? I mean, seriously, do people really think that in the 21st century? We will hopefully she will come to terms with this and do what's right for her, what's best for her health, for her psychological health, and for her spiritual well-being. Maybe she could just stay a Baha'i in name only, not be involved in the Baha'i community. Many of us have done that. So, again, my heart goes out to her. This is heavy, and yes, I've always contemplated that myself. That's a heavy thing to think that gay people in the future will be punished by a Baha'i administration. Even a fine, to me, is not acceptable. I don't know. I don't know anymore. Sometimes I'm even caught off guard by some things in this religion. On to the next question. Can I consider myself a Baha'i without formally declaring? I love the writings of Baha'u'llah, but I do not want to face judgment from the Baha'is in my area as a transgender man. Sort of piggybacks on the last question in some ways, but this person hasn't declared, but they're considering declaring. This is just, again, it just kills me that people in the LGBTQ community actually are attracted to this religion in so many ways once they hear about it and its core values and its teachings. But yet, when they discover online, or they, meet up with the Baha'i community and they hear things or whispers or things are said in front of them that suggest it's not quite LGBTQ affirming, and they're already scared about being judged from prior religious experiences, there is some hesitation there. Do I want to declare myself a Baha'i formally? And they just want to have a spiritual community they can call family. That's normal, right, folks? I mean, that they can feel safe. I think religion should be a place that offers protection and safety, that makes you feel secure, loved, wanted. And oftentimes for LGBTQ people, it's not the case. We're judged harshly, we're alienated, we're ostracized. Our spirituality is often questioned. Like we're children, we're patronized. There's a good deal of patronizing of LGBTQ people in the Baha'i faith. And I think it's also in any other dogmatic religion. Like, we know better than you. Poor LGBTQ person, you have a mental problem. We know better than you. Um, just pray hard, pray harder, pray more to Baha'u'llah, and your answers will come. But for this person's particular situation, I'm not sure if they've already met up with the Baha'is and felt an air of judgment, or they're anticipating that. And so for the Baha'i communities out there, those who are watching this, and I know you are, and I love that you are, I think it's amazing, please learn how to be better. That's all I ask, Think of these people that you engage with when you do your proclamation work, or you're out there in the community or at teaching booths or whatever. Think about what is said to them. What are you saying? What are you saying to these people exactly? Oftentimes people who are LGBTQ, the Baha'is who find that out or already can tell just by perception, they go in hot and heavy sometimes. I don't know what's better, to go in hot and heavy or to go in loving, because at the end of the day, there's still all these skeletons in our closet, like the prior question, that will eventually come to the surface. Maybe this religion isn't for LGBTQ people. My mind goes in different directions. It goes up and down, backwards and forwards on this. So I hope that helps that person. This is a very heavy question. And again, my heart goes out to them. I mean, each one of these is just, it's heavy, right? Anyway, so on to the next question. And these are really good questions, by the way. I'm actually very impressed. This is good. Question number 6. Sean, so far you have focused on LGBTQ individuals who are inactive or who have left the faith. Will you interview an LGBTQ Baha'i like myself who adheres to Baha'i law concerning homosexuality? I figured this type of question was going to come my way. It has in the past over other issues or different areas or forums. Oftentimes it's said that, people think, oh, we don't speak for all of us. And no, I do not speak for the entire LGBTQ Baha'i community or individuals out there around the world. But I do speak for a majority of us who face a similar pattern and face similar tests and obstacles with the Baha'i community and the Baha'i administration. I love everybody in the Baha'i faith. I may not always agree with you on numerous different issues. And I even love my LGBTQ Baha'i brothers, sisters, siblings who adhere to the Baha'i law, or the current interpretation of the Baha'i law, which is to remain chaste, to never be in a relationship. My first priority with this YouTube channel is to basically interview those who mirror the majority of the LGBTQ Baha'i experience. I definitely have my priorities. I want to interview a lesbian Baha'i. I want to interview a transgender Baha'i, male and female, gender non-conforming Baha'is. I want to interview Persian Baha'is, which I find to be the most difficult because of the situations I mentioned in the earlier questions. And eventually, yeah, I'll interview a Baha'i who adheres to the current interpretation of the Baha'i law to remain chaste. I mean, I I don't want to be like those out there in the Baha'i community who censor different people's choices and different people's worldviews. So I'll give you a platform, definitely. I'll interview down the road, but it won't be a priority. You have to understand there's more pressing priorities for me because this is timing of the essence, and these stories need to be told. All the stories will eventually be told. So yeah, hang on. We'll eventually get around to somebody, and I know a good dozen or so that would definitely love to be interviewed to voice how they feel, and how they fit into the Baha'i community. All right, question number 7. Have you been invited by any Baha'i community to speak about LGBTQ concerns? I think your voice needs to be heard by Baha'is who simply are not engaged with LGBTQ people. I haven't been invited in a while. There's been people in the past, mostly from out of the country, that wanted me to speak to their Baha'i community. And, that's a lot to ask, for a person to travel to another country to speak. Canada comes to mind. Australia and New Zealand also come to mind. Smaller Baha'i communities that seem to be more progressive have invited me in the past. But since I started the LGBTQ Baha'i Experience, I haven't received any invites. I think that I'm probably considered too taboo to officially give a platform to in a Baha'i community. Now, that being said, I've always have been open to be invited to any Baha'i community to talk about my experience and the experience of the majority of other LGBTQ Baha'is. I think I offer a great perspective, one that they won't hear, one that's not sanitized, and one I feel is most authentic. But again, I'm a very off limits person for many Baha'is, as one can imagine. But I will definitely, if I can, I'll do Zoom meetings for those out of country. Before I was mentioning those other countries, this is going back some time before I had Zoom or any of that kind of thing on my devices or anything, or my phone. But I could always do that. I could always do a Zoom meeting with anybody or any community. The only thing I do ask if any Baha'i communities do want to reach out to me is I will not be censored. I won't be, there won't be things that will be off limits. And I'm a very respectful person. I know the sensitivity of the covenant with Baha'is. I know the sensitivity about Baha'i administration with Baha'is in the Universal House of Justice. I would do my very best to be respectful to the institutions, but I'm also going to be an authentic person, and I will discuss, if applicable, my experiences with the institutions, because I feel that we all can learn. We have all made mistakes, institutions included, and how they approach this subject and what is said by members of the institutions to LGBTQ Baha'is and some of their actions. So I would not want any kind of censorship. I'm a very loving person, and I'm very respectful. So I would go in with my heart on my sleeve. And so again, please definitely invite me. I will definitely Zoom with your community, and I will bring facts if need be. So you'll hear things you've never heard before. You'll hear about LGBTQ Baha'i history and individuals who were openly gay who served on the institutions dating back to the 1950s, and all kinds of interesting information that you won't find in official Baha'i literature. On to the next question. Your website hasn't been updated since you decided to produce videos on YouTube. Are there any plans to update it in the near future? Yes, we're working on that. There's priorities. It's just a two-man show. It's me and my husband. We don't have any staff. We're not paid. We don't have a budget. It's all on us. And yes, we have inquired about a webmaster for the actual website, and it does need to be updated. And that's definitely in the cards. Thanks for noticing. Yeah, it's a vital thing to have multiple platforms and an official web presence outside of YouTube and Facebook. So yes, we will get around to it, and look out for it in the near future. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, question number 9, the last question. It's a long one. Dear Sean, I'm a gay Baha'i who is inactive. I just recently wanted to engage other Baha'is on Baha'i Facebook groups. Sadly, when I posted questions I had about my concerns about the LGBTQ issues in the faith, I was met with a very patronizing attitude. My posts were not allowed, or the comments were turned off. It is as if this topic, or my being gay, is taboo. I'm a black man and know how it feels to be invisible all too well. I really thought the Baha'i faith would have evolved on this issue since I was last active in the 1990s. Well, this is a very common concern for LGBTQ Baha'is on social media platforms such as Facebook or Reddit. Oftentimes, questions about the LGBTQ issues within the faith, if posed usually by an LGBTQ person or one of our allies who's progressive, is often met with a patronizing attitude or censored outright. Posts are often deleted or not approved, and comments are turned off, like this man has said. I personally can speak from experience. For numerous years, I'm banned from most Baha'i Facebook groups for just asking questions or sharing the concerns of LGBTQ Baha'is. Nothing was challenging the covenant or showing hostility towards the Baha'i administration. So this topic, like this man says, and like other Baha'is have said who are LGBTQ, it's like an off topic, it's taboo. And oftentimes it's met with a patronizing attitude, sending us quotes and guidance that we are very aware of because that guidance impacts our life. And, it's sad, that this man who's black, who's felt invisible in other ways, growing up his entire life, I'm sure, has now feels like his religion that he loved and, became inactive with, still is going to treat him less than. And that's a major concern. He asks about, he thought the faith would have evolved in his lapse of not being active in the Baha'i faith since the 1990s. And honestly, the faith has not evolved on this since the 1990s. If anything, I feel like they dug their heels down and in some ways have become more hostile towards LGBTQ people, being that no matter what science says about how we are, or who we are, or why we are same-sex attracted, the faith now says, or the guidance says, nothing will ever change. And so, yes, I could see his concern. It's very sad, I think we also just could do better in how we engage people online. Don't diminish the LGBTQ Baha'i experience or our questions. You're invalidating us. It hurts to be invalidated. The faith should know this. Right now as we're speaking, Persian Bahais in Iran are being invalidated. So let's learn from how we're treated around the globe as a minority religion and treat others, who are in different minorities with dignity, love, and respect. And I hope these questions, and answers help people to further this dialogue. These are heavy questions, and they should not be taken lightly. Uh, as I said, we get about 3 to 4 a week. A lot of them are the same types of questions, and I hope in these questions and answers, you'll see your questions being answered. And I hope that we can make a change within the Baha'i community to be loving and affirming of the LGBTQ Baha'i community and LGBTQ people out there. And I look forward to posting the next interview with Shogi Aktas, a Baha'i who has traveled from Uganda to Kenya to the United States. His story is powerful, it's emotional, and it's going to cause ripples in the Baha'i community, and I hope a positive way. And I also think it's a great opportunity to give a platform to African LGBTQ Baha'is. I know they're out there, there's many of them out there, and they too, like the Persian Bahais, have a harder time within the Baha'i community, a bigger struggle. And well, I will look forward to getting more questions. My husband will look forward to getting more questions. And we're going to march forward with this project. And I think the viewership has, grown exponentially. So please like or hit subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I wish everybody peace and love. And here's to a more positive future. Thank you very much.